Tropes certainly have their place in the literary world. They help with plotting, marketing, fueling the fire that burns readers' trust. And I love a good trope as much as the next person. I also hate an improperly used one as much as them as well. Probably more, actually. When a beloved trope is rammed into the ground and beaten like a horse and milked like a cow, when a trope is overused, it just pulls all the charm out of it. This video comes as a suggestion from my commenter Val, so thank you for that. And I'm going to use this video to talk about my opinions on very popular and commonly misused tropes. Let's just get the big one out of the way, enemies to lovers. This is both my favourite trope and the most fragile. There are very strict rules to getting this one right. Number one, have them actually be enemies. This should go without saying, but I need to say it. I can't have them hating each other but unable to deny how irresistible and sexy they are. That's not how hating someone works. The whole charm of enemies to lovers is having two characters that are in completely different viewpoints with completely different upbringings, and they resent the other character for it. And when you genuinely hate someone, I mean, this might just be me, but their appearance doesn't really factor into it in any way, shape, or form. You don't think, oh, I really hate them, but God, they just have this something about them. In my case, anyway, doesn't work like that. Number two, there cannot be an uncomfortable power imbalance. I'm not reading about an oppressed person falling in love with their oppressor. Now, there are ways around this, like a minority kind of group, and then there's someone who works for the oppressor that then changes their mind and shifts, and there's a romance there. But if you are writing a enemies to lovers story and it's between an oppressed person, especially when the oppressed character is a girl, and then you want me to ship them with the military leader and he's like very powerful and he does a lot of damage, I'm not reading that. And also, I guess a power imbalance in terms of like strength and skill. The whole idea of enemies to lovers is their jealousy and spite and, like I said, resentment for each other for beliefs or upbringing, personality traits, things like that. That's what makes enemies to lovers enemies. I don't want to read about a big broody man just abusing a woman. Like that's not enemies to lovers, that's a crime. If one of them is a shadow wielding, dragon shifting, enemy slaying, world destroying big brute, and then the love interest is like a scrawny little village pup, you can keep that. And number three, it has to stop after they become lovers. This is very much my own opinion. I'm not going to enforce this on anyone because I can understand going through a book where they're enemies and then you want to see them turn that into a proper romance and be soft with each other. I don't want to see that. I would much rather read a trilogy where two books are enemies and then the third book is 2/3 of it are kind of shifting, and then the last 10 pages they kiss, they have an angry love confession, that's it, it's over. But that's probably just because I'm not a huge fan of soft, happy, joyous romance or scenes in general, I guess. Unless it's between two women, then I'll take a million pages of that. Now for my second heavy hitter, this trope is so dear to my heart, and I also feel like it's very easy to get right, and that is found family. I'm easy to please with this trope, so give me dysfunction, give me the banter, the bickering, and give me quiet acts of love that are covered up by shoves and pushes. I've not ever read this in a book and not been completely enamored by it. This is, if you tell me a book has this, I'm there. I'm at your door. I have money in my hand. Please give me the book. Some pieces of media that are just off the top of my head that do this that I love are like the Shepherd King duology, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Evergreen. I heard that one does it really well. I would say the two aspects of this found family that really, really do it for me is siblings and father-daughter. Characters who are either siblings already or not siblings, and they enter this kind of found family trope and they become like siblings, but especially a father-daughter. Haymitch and Katniss, I'm looking directly, piercingly at you. I love that trope and it just does it for me every time. It makes me so emotional, so entertained, so hurt, but so comforted. So those are my two biggest ones. Those are the ones that I have most to say about because they matter so much to me and they're my two favourites. The others that I have, I'm just going to kind of pull off of a list and give like a quicker, shorter opinion on it. Because these other ones, I'm not massively fussed on them. Like, I could happily read books that only have found family or enemies to lovers for the rest of my life, as long as they're done well. These are just very random ones. I'm sure there's more that I'll think of in the video, and I'll just spit them out as I think. But these are just ones that Google gave me. So the first one on my list, I've got Grumpy and Sunshine. I do love it. I love it, especially if it's between two women. Maybe if one of them's older. The grumpy can't be, again, like abusive or oppressive. Like, they have to just be grumpy. I like this trope in terms of friendships, in terms of lovers. You know, this is, I do love this trope. But again, it's, the grumpy can't be too broody, and the sunshine can't be too infantilized either. I don't want to read about a grown ass person who talks like a kid. The next one I have on my list is Forced Proximity. Now, this one dances a very fine line for me. It has to be done well, earned, and well executed. One bed left at the inn trope is, I feel like it's very overused. It's predictable, and there's nothing really there for me anymore to sink my teeth into. But if the circumstances around it are unique, then I can definitely forgive that and enjoy it. It has to be unique, and it has to be earned as well. Like, by that I mean a lot of these tropes, especially the romantic ones, I'm not going to enjoy them unless the build up to them is good and the actual trope is earned. That's such a massive thing with these tropes. You can't just throw them in there just for the sake of having them. They need to fit into your story, and the characters need to earn this moment. Next, I've got Who Did This to You slash Fixing Wounds in general. This one, yes. As long as it's not the typical shadow daddy, oh, I'll burn the world for you, I'll kill everyone. Calm down. I want it earned, like all these other ones. If it's earned, then it's beautiful. Especially when this happens at the point in a relationship where they're still enemies, like they're not in the lover's part, and they have to patch the other character up while still hating them and not liking them, but they have to do it for like the purpose of their mission or things like that. Next, I've got Love Triangle. Not for me. I find it hard enough already to root for one love interest. You have to put in a lot of work as an author to get me to care about a love interest. I'm not even looking at the other one. Once I've made my mind up on who I'm choosing, I don't even want to read any kind of scene between the other two. I feel like it's usually very obvious who the author wants you to choose anyway, and it just takes out a lot of the joy for me. I just don't, it's not my kind of thing. I'm not entertained by it. I'm not enamored by it. Next, I've got Reluctant Hero slash Mentor, and I love this. And I'm very biased because this features in my novel, The Evergreen. It's just so real and vulnerable, and it's so refreshing to have someone who doesn't want responsibility and they don't want power and they don't want to have to step into this role. The bravery and the admiration comes from them not wanting to do it and then doing it anyway. And I feel like it's a very human experience to then share in a very fantastical setting, and that's what makes it very special to me. So I do love this one. This next one, I've got Alternate Universes. I love this. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's creative. I mean, I am a fan fiction veteran, so again, like this, I'm gonna like this. I won't say too much about it because I usually don't invest a lot of time into it because I don't take it super seriously, but it is just a fun time. It's such a good, like, especially when it's used primarily in fan fiction and you put these very broody and professional characters in like a wildly different setting. That's the charm with it, I think. And I used to like it when I would be in the fan fiction space when I was a bit younger, but I just haven't read any recently, so maybe I would enjoy it, maybe I wouldn't. I'm not sure. I can't speak on it. This one is similar to one that I've already said, but it's Touch Her and I'll Kill You. I just think it's so improperly used, and it's really tainted my vision on how I see this trope now. All I think of when I think of it is big, tall shadow daddies saying it to a character that they've only known for a week. It feels so unearned, and all the charm in the trope has been completely unraveled, and I just can't put the pieces back together, guys. I can't do it. This next one is identity swaps. So whether it be a character taking another person's identity or two characters shifting identities, I love it. I don't see it that much. I think the most recent book I've read with this in is A Treachery of Swans, where the main character turns this royal girl into a swan and then puts on her identity and goes into the court and pretends to be her. And I love that. Oh, I think what made it 10 times better was the fact that it was like a sapphic relationship, so there was all that kind of tension that I just loved. But even if it's not in a romantic sense, any identity swap trope just it's amazing. I love it so much. I think that's probably because I grew up on The Parent Trap, so it's kind of ingrained in my mind now. And especially when the two characters have completely different lifestyles. I'm thinking like The Princess and the Pop Star, like that Barbie film, when they have completely different lifestyles and they both think they want the other lifestyle and then they swap and then they realize, oh my god, I should have been grateful for what I had. Oh, I love it. Another one I've gotten here is forbidden romance, and I can't say too much about it because I don't read a lot of forbidden romance, but I feel like it's one of those things that can only really be done in fantasy or sci-fi. There is no reason that would be justifiable enough or entertaining enough for me to care about a forbidden romance in a modern love story. And that's coming from someone who doesn't read contemporary romance anyway. But I feel like if it's done well and it's again earned, but if it's earned, I feel like it's good because all that tension's there, but it just relies heavily on why are they forbidden. Like if you just tell me, oh, politics is against it, then come on, why is it forbidden? I need to understand that, and then I can become part of this like yearning with them for each other. These next two that I've got on my list, they don't really, I've never found them on any list, like trope list that I was looking through, but they've come to my mind, and I don't know if they count as tropes or there's probably a way that I could word them a bit better and they'd fit into a bracket, but these are just what I've got now because they're quite specific. The first one is doomed stories. So the reason I say this is because I need to come out as a huge Umbrella Academy fan. Ignoring the ending, I loved this show. I thought it was silly in a lot of places, and some of the romances that happened were just silly. Because for those of you who don't know, the Umbrella Academy is a found family, in a sense, group of superheroes, and they keep ending the world. So at the end of each season, they end the world and they go back in time or they change something. They try to go back and fix it, but in every universe, they end the world. They are the people that end the world. So what they have to do ultimately in the end, spoiler, is they become flowers. And when I say that, it doesn't quite capture the rage that a lot of people felt when we watched the ending. In the end, they essentially erase their conception. Ugh, that sounds disgusting. But they just erase the fact that they were ever born. So the world becomes fine, and finally they've fixed the world and it doesn't end. But they never existed. And that's the whole thing, is that this family was the problem and they were destined to cause the end of the world in every universe. And yes, it was very sad. The ending was very sad. It definitely had a lot of negative feedback on it, but I just loved the sense that almost the hopelessness and then trying to find hope in that hopelessness without changing the fact that it's hopeless. But just the best way I can describe it is just doomed. Doomed heroes, doomed families, doomed storylines, ones that you know there's no way you can undo it. And then the desperation that comes from these people as they try and try and try to save themselves, their friends, their world, and it just doesn't work. It's so sad. So I won't engage with this one very much because the Umbrella Academy did destroy me, but I have to admit I do love a really sad, gut-wrenching story like that. So the doomed story is a trope that I do love. This last one that I've got, this is just word salad. I know for a fact it can be whittled down into something that makes more sense, and I have one specific character in my head when I say this. What I've got written down is monstrous entities in the head that the main character argues with. If you've read One Dark Window, this is about Elspeth. Her relationship with the Nightmare, which is like this magical entity that's in her head, and when she gets threatened or attacked, he can come out and he fights for her, and it's like vicious. He's like this monster. I love that. I really don't think we see enough of it. Maybe I'm just kind of hiding in the shadows and I need to find some more recommendations, but that is going to do it for me every time. I love it. I love it, especially when the girl is soft and sweet and she's kind, or maybe she's a bit shy, and then the monster in her head is like vicious and brutal. I just loved it. I loved it so much in these books. This is probably the only trope where I will support the female character being helpless and a little bit weak, as long as she finds her strength throughout. And if you've read the Shepherd King duology, then you'll see how she kind of finds her strength throughout. But this is one of the only situations where I will read about a woman who is not very strong and she's weak and vulnerable, but as long as she has this thing in her mind that strengthens her and just makes her like a weapon, an absolute weapon, then I can forgive them being, scrawny and teeny and things like that. There you have it. That is the end of my quite short list. There's obviously so many that I've missed out. There's some that I purposely haven't included because I feel like it's not, I've never really read much about it. So, like Friends to Lovers and things like that, that's more a contemporary romance trope, and I don't read contemporary romance. So, I can't really say much on that. Second chance romance, I've never read anything that has second chance romance. So, I would personally say never hate it, but I don't know because I've not read it. And the similarity between all of these tropes, they have to be earned. Any of these tropes, no matter how much I've shit on them, can be really good if they're done well. I think the big issue nowadays is people see tropes, not everyone, but some people see tropes as this cog that they need to fit into their machine, and then they just, that's it. It just doesn't need to have any kind of attachment to the rest of the story or the arcs or things like that. And it makes it stick out like a sore thumb, and it taints the idea of the trope in general. So people often have negative perceptions of enemies to lovers because the vibe of enemies to lovers has been just absolutely chewed up and spat back out. You think enemies to lovers, you think big broody man and tiny scrawny woman, and it's just, that's not how it is. It can be well done, it can be beautiful, but that's the issue with it. It needs to be well done and it needs to be earned. Let me know if there were any that you agree with. Let me know if there are any that you disagree with and you think I'm an idiot. I will take all criticism. Let me know if there are any that I missed that you want my opinion on, because I feel like where I'm both a writer and a reader, I have maybe different opinions about some very popular ones. And I've probably missed, I mean, look how short my list is. I've definitely missed some in here. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my rambles about it. And thank you to Val for giving me the idea. I hope this has given you a bit of an insight into my views and opinions on tropes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.